Hey guys, I'm here to tell you my top 20 albums of 2019. That is right. There's a lot of people out there putting their lists, marking it twice, but none of them are right. This is the list that matters. These are the top 20. These are the best 20 albums you will find in 2019, according to me. And that is, as far as I'm concerned, the only opinion that really matters. Having said that, I really want to hear about your opinion, not only on my top 20 list, but on your own list, your top 20, top 5, top 10, whatever the case might be. Use the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Perhaps this way I can discover some albums or rediscover some albums that I didn't pay enough attention or I didn't pay any attention at all. So it will allow me to go back and rediscover some bands, some records, and it's always a nice topic of conversation. So at the end of the video, use the comment section and let me know your thoughts, not only on my list, like I said, but on your own lists. But for now, let's get started. At number 20, we have Warm Wood with Nadavert. I absolutely enjoy this record. I love the mixture of Swedish and English vocals. I really like that aspect. I like the concept of the record. I like the storytelling aspect. I love the fluidity, the structure that the album has. It's just a magnificent record overall, an album that allowed me to discover this band. I had never heard of the band before. So I discovered this band through this record, and it was a record that just stuck with me all the way through to the end of the year, and it still remains on my list of favorite albums. Next, at number 19, we have Beelzebub's Pantheon of the Nightside Gods. I really like the structure of the album. I like the vocals. I like the sound. I like the overall feel. And I like the fact that it has 3 built-in chapters to the structure of the record. And I like that it matches with the story of Beelzebub's the band. So the album itself, the structure of the album itself stays true to the history and the story of Beelzebub's. And that to me was a huge component on why this album works, on why this album is so magnificent. Obviously, I love the music, I love the sound, I love the vocals, I love the overall concept behind the album. But to me, the storytelling, not an indirect storytelling aspect of Beelzebub's in terms of how the structure of the album is put together, to me, that was one of the things that allowed me to gravitate towards this record. At number 18, we have Mayhem with Demon. One of their best albums, at least in the last, I'm going to say in the last 5-10 years, is their best album. I have no doubts about that. It was really magnificent, released by them. An album that surprised me by how good, how atmospheric it was, and how dark it was at the same time. An album that has great vocals, and I really like what they did with the vocals. That's one of the things that really impacted me, was how they used the vocals as another instrument, as an atmospheric element to the overall feel and sound that this record has to offer. At number 17, Life of Agony, The Sound of Scars, their best album since their debut record. So if you release your best album since your debut record, how am I going to put this album on my top 20 list? I absolutely love this album from Life of Agony. I love the fact that they continue the story that they started with the first record. And I don't feel like the story is over. I feel like this is just another chapter. There's still more to be told as far as the overall concept and story of this record is concerned. Love the sound, love the vocals, love the overall structure and feel that the record had to offer. Number 16, Cellar Darling, The Spell. Talk about concept. What an insane concept this record had to offer. Talk about taking a concept to a whole new level. I absolutely love what Cellar Darling did. They really jumped. They didn't take steps beyond their debut record. They just absolutely leapfrogged their debut record and moved towards a much more progressive, a more adult, more mature sound with this record. I love the overall story. I love the concept. I love how magnetizing it is and how emotionally driven the overall album is. There was nothing left to be done. This is a perfect record from them. I really enjoyed every single detail that they had to offer with this album. At number 15, we have The Agonist with Orphans, their best album to date. When I first listened to the album, I had some doubts. In my mind, was one of their best albums, but I had some doubts in pushing it into the category of the best album ever that the band has put together. But now, after digesting the album over the last couple of months, I must say this album by The Agonist is their best album to date. Vicky was absolutely phenomenal on vocals. Overall, the whole work of the record is absolutely magnificent. At number 14, we have Death Angel with Humanicide. one of my top three favorite thrash metal albums of the year. So I had to include it on my list because I thought this album was absolutely magnificent. It was heavy, it was driven, great vocals, great dynamic, an overall concept to it, an overall concept to the lyrics, to the story, to the idea that this album holds. So all of those components to me scream great record, great sound, and this album had to be on my list. At number 13, we have Bramir with Wings of Fire. This album will be criminally underrated by most people putting top 10 lists or top 20 lists, but this to me was one of the best releases of the year. Magnificent album, magnificent sound. The fact that they incorporated a little bit more symphonic metal into their melodic death metal sound to me really works well for this band. It really pushed them to the next level. This is their best album in my opinion. It just has great sound, great volume, great presence. At number 12, we have Syra with No Halos in Hell. This is their second release, and this album, it blew me away. I was expecting a solid record. I was not expecting an album that was this well put together. Heavy, yet melodic. And really the merger of melody and heaviness is what gravitated me towards this record. They were really able to merge those two worlds and really create an album that will appeal to a very wide audience. It will appeal to people who like more heavier songs and more heavier sounds, but will also appeal to a crowd that likes more melodic, more easier to digest music. This album has a little bit for everybody. I really love what they did with this album, and it's a magnificent release by them. At number 11, we have Alcest with Spiritual Instinct. Wow, one of the best albums in terms of the atmospheric elements that they have to offer within the record. This is an album that you'll be traveling through clouds as you're listening to it. It just takes it's almost like an out of body experience listening to this record. It has just great atmospheric elements, and it's an album that just allows you to navigate through open space and let the music be your guide on that journey. Absolutely magnificent. At number 10, now we're starting to get into the 10s. And the number 10, we have Rotting Christ with the Heretics. This to me is just a really well-crafted record from beginning all the way to end. Has a lot of cool elements, has a lot of cool melodies, still heavy, still dark, very ominous, but never losing the melodic component, always including melody into their tracks, always finding a way to make the songs melodic and still dark and heavy at the same time. At number 9, this is my favorite thrash metal album of the year, Suicidal Angels, Ears of Aggression. Absolutely demolishing record. Like, it's hard for me to put in words. Without a shadow of a doubt, the moment I listened to it, I knew this album was going to be one of my favorite albums of the year. But the more the year progressed, the more I realized how good, how well crafted, the sound, the mixing, the production, everything about this record is absolutely magnificent. For a thrash metal album, it has all those components that you need. It has aggression, fast guitar riffs, powerful riffs, great vocals, great lyrics, really impactful, hooky at times in the chorus. A really well crafted, really well put together album. At number 8, Cloak with the Burning Dawn. This band is going places, and if you haven't heard of them, go check them out and pick up the Burning Dawn. Magnificent record, very dark, a really mixture of rock and roll with black metal. They do that fusion extremely well. They really incorporate those two worlds and make it work. They have a very unique sound to them. They have a very unique approach. Incredible live band. And they put together one of the outstanding albums of 2019 in the Burning Dawn. At number 7, we have Blood Red Hourglass with Godsend. This was really a step up from Heal. I really felt that this album showed a more mature sound, a more elevated sound, a more well-crafted sound. Definitely, they improved in quality, they improved in performance, and this album is a step up for the band. An album that I believe is going to be one of those that's going to break them into the mainstream of metal and really allow them to be more of a household name, which they deserve to be, considering the talent that they have. At number 6, The Dark Element with Songs the Night Sings. This album was absolutely outstanding. I was expecting this album to be great based on the singles. I was not expecting this album to be phenomenal, and it was. Annette Olson, incredible performance. One of the best symphonic metal albums of the year. I consider this a symphonic metal album. So this is, to me, one of the best of the year. Her performance was absolutely phenomenal. Great voice, great vocals. The songs were well crafted to really get the most out of her, and she was able to get the most out of the songs as well. At number 5, Fit for an Autopsy, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. This album is not a tragic beast. This album is a beast. Beast, musically, lyrically, and vocally. This album is an absolute beast. One of the best of the year. One of the more solid from beginning to end. No skippable track. No track that allows you to just catch your breath and relax a little bit. This album is relentless aggression from the first all the way to the last song. And talking about relentless aggression, this takes me to number 4, Cattle Decapitation, Death Atlas. For a band that I've sometimes been critic of, this album to me was perhaps the album that sold me on this band and made me a fan of Cattle Decapitation. First of all, I love the overall concept. That includes the album cover, the song titles, the lyrics, the way the structure of the album is together. That concept alone sold me on the record. And then when you start listening to the songs and you get the aggression, but at the same time, they were able to merge emotion with aggression to create an album that will make you angry and emotional at the same time. It's absolutely phenomenal. Incredible job by them. At number 3, Ginger with Macro. These guys, man, these guys are going places. They're one of the hottest bands at the moment. In my opinion, that is not by fluke. These guys put in a lot of hard work into their music. To me, they're in the forefront of progressive music, progressive metal, with the way they create music, with the way they put albums together, the way they have song changes, the overall album structure. These guys are absolutely magicians when it comes to putting records together, and when it comes to putting songs together. Love Macro. At number 2, Flash God Apocalypse with Veleno. To me, this album was this was almost number 1 for me, and it was number 1 for me for a very long time. But it still is one of my favorite albums of the year. Obviously, it's at number 2. There's just so much about this album that makes it that much of an incredible masterpiece of a metal record, in my opinion. I love the vocals. I love the keyboard melodies are phenomenal. The mixture of keyboards and guitars, how they're able to mix melody, aggression, and create a symphonic death metal album that feels to me like something out of Beethoven. It just has that has a very classical approach to it, but still never losing the death metal roots that this band has. So they're able to incorporate different genres, different styles, different eras into one solid record and create something that was like an onion. It just had layers and layers upon layers. The more you listen to this album, the more things you discover about the way the songs are put together, the way the overall structure is put together. It's just an album that you could listen to it 10 years from now and you're still going to discover things that you didn't know were there before. Absolutely phenomenal. But at number 1 has to be, in my opinion, Insomnium with Heart Like a Grave. This album hit me hard and it's still hitting me hard today. Absolutely love the record. There was nothing from this record that I would have said I would have done differently, or I wish they'd had done differently. This is a perfect record in my opinion. The way the album is structured, the length of the songs, the feel, the melody, the melancholy that the tracks have. To me, if it's, some people will argue this is perhaps one of their best albums to date. In my opinion, this is their best album to date. I just absolutely love this record. I love what it gave. I love the feel. I love the structure of the album. It was an album that really captivated you at the beginning, hold your hand, and held your hand all the way through every single song. And you had a feeling of an emotional roller coaster with this album. Some songs were more melancholic. Some songs were darker. Some songs were more depressive. Some songs were sad. There was just a little bit of everything. And then in the melody, there was some brightness, some light in the melody that the tracks had. So they had a very unique way of constructing songs, and they did a wonderful job with Heart Like a Grave, my number 1 album of the year. All right, guys, this is it. But don't forget what I said. Use the comment section below. Let me know what your top 20, top 10, top 5, whatever your list is. Let me know in the comment section below. I really want to see what you guys have put together for yourselves. And more important, also, let me know what you thought of my list. Did I fail on all categories, or there was a lot of bands here that you also have on your list? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.